All right, welcome to part 3 of this series covering the Camino Aragones. I'm currently in Ruesta, and behind me you can see the remains of the old church for the settlement. Over to my right you can also see an Islamic hill fort that was set up in the 9th century. I'll explain a little more about that later on. So today's stage covered a total of 27 kilometres. We walked from Arrés to Artieda, which was 17 kilometres, followed by Artieda to Ruesta for a further 10 kilometres. My thoughts on the 3 towns just mentioned are that all 3 were beautiful, great views. The panoramics around for all 3 of these destinations are really worthwhile to see. Arrés, I have to thank the Pilgrim Hostel, the hospitaleros that run it. It was an excellent stay. The pilgrims' dinner was well catered for everyone that arrived, and they couldn't have been more helpful. Really impressed with the services there. Artieda was a hill settlement. We stopped there for lunch. Bar, restaurant, hotel, and there were a lot more locals who lived there as well. It was a lived-in settlement as such, and really enjoyed being there as a stop for lunch. And finally, Ruesta, where we are right now, originated as an Islamic hill fort, used as a frontier settlement as the Islamic Empire existed throughout Spain at the time. And by the 10th century, it had been taken over again by Christian forces. And that went on all the way through to 1959, where the entire settlement became depopulated. And this was because an artificial lake stroke reservoir was built in the valley below. And that meant that the livelihood of the people that lived here, which was around about 358 people at the time, ceased to exist. Their livelihoods were destroyed. And with that, the settlement itself, which is now in rack and ruin, other than the one functioning building, which is the hostel itself, which I must say seems to be really well run. The volunteers that work here are really nice people and willing to help out with whatever you needed. A third section then, I just wanted to cover off a few points about weather versus equipment. So I said yesterday that I walk in trainers, and that's never been a problem on the Camino Frances before, or the Camino Aragones until now. We had a large amount of rain throughout yesterday evening, and that meant that some of the paths were particularly muddy and quite slippy in parts, particularly near the watered area around the lake. And this led to some quite slippery conditions. So I think that the trail running shoes definitely won out today. Although it's not enough to convert me across to them, I'm still quite happy with my trainers the majority of the time because they're so much lighter and easier to walk in for me. Secondly, I might consider for this stage a little bit of insect protection, because when you were walking alongside the water area, there were a lot of flies and insects that accosted me throughout most of this final part of this stage, should I say. And thirdly, the first stage today was 17 kilometres without any shops or services in between. So just a word of caution, make sure you pack enough food and water for the stage. It's not a difficult stage in terms of climbs or descents, but 17k without any other stops is quite an amount to think about. Finally then, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider a donation to the Teenage Cancer Trust. It's a UK-based charity and does great work for thousands of people each year. If you've enjoyed this video discussing the Camino Aragones, please like, share and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you very much.